Hey now, 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero here with you for the next 2 hours. Another shortened edition of the show today. And we are going to jam-pack these next 2 hours with plenty on the Kansas City Royals, the Kansas Jayhawks, Kansas State Wildcats, golf, most notably maybe one of the biggest stories in the history of the sport of professional golf.
In the non-Tiger Woods division, I think it is probably that.
Yeah. If you haven't heard, if you weren't listening to Mic'd Up or caught it in the news sometime today, the PGA Tour and Live Golf are becoming one company, one corporation. That's wild. We're going to get to that in headlines today. Our headlines are coming up at 4 o'clock because we're done at 5 for Royals baseball. Pre-game begins at 5, first pitch at 5:40 on the Royals Radio Network. Game 2 between the Y'alls and the Marlins. We're going to get to some Royals here in a minute. We'll recap the game briefly from last night. Mike Myers, tough outing for him. We'll get to the game a little bit. Also, some thoughts on Luis Arraez, who is now hitting .399 for the season, as well as a very interesting note from Ken Rosenthal in the Athletics baseball newsletter today. This is a very interesting piece. I believe Jake touched on it during Mic'd Up today. I know we talked a little bit about Royals trade deadline thoughts coming up during Crosstalk earlier, and we'll talk about that coming up here in just a matter of moments. Also this hour, we've got Random Question Tuesday, and both Jalen Wilson and Keyontae Johnson spoke to the media after working out for the Golden State Warriors yesterday. And we're going to hear from both of them. Have about 13 and a half minutes of audio from Keyontae and Jalen. They didn't speak together, but they spoke individually. And we'll hear what both of them had to say. Some interesting notes from the two of them. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines at the top of the 4 o'clock hour today. What is wrong with you, Michael Swain for Jayhawk Weekly? All that is coming up on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. We would love for you to be a part of the show. You know how to do it, either on the text line 785-272-9429, or you can join us on YouTube. The name of our YouTube channel is Sports on 580 WIBW. Head to YouTube, search for us, make sure you subscribe, and then you can check out the live stream, hop into the comment section, and hang out with us throughout the day. I already have a couple comments in from Christopher in the YouTube comments. Appreciate him and all you guys who are watching and listening along today. We'll get to Christopher's thoughts here in just a minute. It pertains to the Ken Rosenthal nugget from his writing today that we're going to get to in a few minutes.
We may even start with the Bard, as he's also known today.
Yeah.
Because we got a banger that really kind of sums up
let's do it.
What happened on the baseball field yesterday.
Let's do it.
There's not much to say about the Royals falling in the opener to the Miami Marlins 9-6 yesterday, and the Bard summed it up well. Hernandez was just dominating, but Myers was quite nauseating. The team last in run scored just put 9 on the board. As a fan, it was awfully deflating.
All right, I will give you my biggest spin zone I can for last night's game. The offense looked better. 6 runs is generally enough that you will win plenty of games.
And 2 dingers in 3 days for Nick Pratto is a positive. We've talked about needing to see some more power from him to go along with the batting average on balls in play, inflated batting average number right now. And he has hit a couple of monster home runs. Like, the power is there.
Yes.
There's no doubt. Nick Pratto has the ability to hit the baseball a long way, hit it hard and hit it far. And he has the ability to do that is above average, I would say, comfortably so.
So
the question is he going to make enough contact? You have to get to that power, as they say. And perhaps these last 3 days, which has seen him hit a couple of tape measure home runs out to his pull side, are a sign that he is starting to get to that power.
So that's a good thing. Carlos Hernandez bouncing back very nicely. Great to see. He was awesome through 2 innings. And even Mike Myers, who was very bad yesterday, still 3 of every 4 times he's been on the mound for the Royals this year, things have gone well. 75%, pretty good number. You'd like 100%, but if it's, his only down outing, so be it. That's fine. That is your positive spin zone on the Royals' loss last night.
So, 6 runs is a good night for the offense. They jumped out early. They led 4-0 after the Pratto homer. And then, things kind of got messy for them in those middle innings. And that has been the part of the game that has been the hardest for the Royals to navigate. They have had trouble in the middle innings.
Mhm.
Typically, it's been when the bullpen enters the game.
Yeah.
Like the back end with a lead, pretty solid, like we've talked about. But the middle of the bullpen, the sixth inning has been particularly rough. And I know if you're a Royals fan, you're probably thinking, yeah, innings 1 through 5 and 7 through 9 usually aren't real hot either. And that's how you get to the record that the Royals have gotten to. And you're correct, obviously, to say that. But the sixth inning in particular has been a trouble spot for the Royals in this season. And yesterday it was the entrance of Myers into the game that unfortunately is where the game got sideways. It was 2 in the third. It was 4 to take the lead for the Marlins. In the fourth, it was 1 thanks to a entirely preventable Drew Waters error in the fifth, ended up being the winning run. It is always something.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose this many games, when you lose this frequently, this relentlessly, it is always something. Some days it's you melt down in the sixth inning. Some days you take a lead into the eighth and then you give up 6 runs like it was Friday night against Colorado. Some days you jump out to a 4-0 lead and a guy you kind of been leaning on to give you some shutout ball in the bulk roll gets lit up for the first time all season. But it is always something when you're 18-42.
So that's the that's the downside of losing 9-6 to the Marlins. Marlins aren't as pathetic as they have been in somewhat recent memory, but still, as the Bard pointed out, lowest scoring team in the league. I did want to note on the Marlins real quick. Luis Arraez had another big day yesterday. He's now hitting .399 for the season. He's not going to hit 400, but how long can this last? Like, how long with this player, with the history he has, with the way he's playing this year, how long do you think we can go with Arraez flirting with 400? He never swings and misses. He never strikes out. He is in the 100th percentile in Major League Baseball in both. In other words, he is literally the best player in baseball at not striking out and at not swinging and missing. He makes an insane amount of contact, which is obviously valuable. How long can this last? Could we get Mr. 400 for the first time since 1941?
It will be really fun to watch him try. We talked about Arraez a little bit when we played Is It Good last week during that stretch where the Royals had back-to-back off days. And Arraez entered the month hitting .380, and now it's jumped up to .399, which obviously leads all of baseball. And I said then, and I'll say it again, I hope he makes a run at it. I think it would be really cool if he were hitting like .391 going into August. We haven't had this in a while. I remember it was a big deal when Tony Gwynn went into August hitting .380, .390. I think he ended up at .394. Is that a moth?
Yeah, it freaked me out. I saw something walking across the microphone button. I was going to turn it off. Freaking moth walking across it.
You jumped out of your chair.
Yeah,
I thought you had seen something on your computer that was like stunning news had just happened. I'm like, oh wow, what just came across Twitter? No, man, you almost. And let me tell you this: if a moth comes in this room, I'm leaving this room, and you're on your own, buddy. Somebody go find me a cat.
Dude,
I hate moths, man. I hate them.
Yeah, it's climbing around in the light fixture now. All right,
what a surprise. Anyhow. Tony Gwynn, 1994. I think he ended up hitting like .394, but the season obviously was canceled due to the strike that year. Todd Helton gave it a go in 2000. I think he ended up hitting .372 that year. It was either 2000 or 2001 that he made a little bit of a run at it. But it has been a good while since we've seen somebody, even Ichiro in his best years, where we've looked at a player and said, hey, could he really hit 400 in a season? And if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be a player like Arraez, who just seems to have elite bat-to-ball skill. Doesn't strike out, puts the ball in play a lot. And if you put the ball in play a lot, you give yourself a chance to have the kind of batting average on balls in play success that you need to hit 400. Right now, his batting average on balls in play is .414. Part of that is, again, he's only struck out 11 times and only hit 1 home run. Like, it would help him if he could hit a few more balls over the fence, but he wouldn't be the same hitter if he didn't. So it's going to take some good fortune because he's not like super fast. But Ted Williams wasn't running out a bunch of infield singles either when he hit .406 in 1941. Todd Helton wasn't a burner. Tony Gwynn, by that stage, by 1994, certainly wasn't his 1980s speedy self. So
Right.
you don't have to be a burner. It doesn't hurt. I hope he can make a run at it. I think it would be really fun, really interesting thing to monitor baseball wise, to see a guy make a real run at a 400 batting average.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I hope it happens too. Also, this from Vance in the YouTube comments, who says, one of the few times I can watch the Royals on Fox since I have Dish, and this is the game I get to watch. Yeah, that was nice to be able to find wholly endorsed by the league means to watch the Royals last night as a non.
Were they on FS1?
Yeah, they were on FS1.
Huh.
Yeah. AJ Pierzynski was putting on a clinic during the doing the color commentary. Let me tell you.
Well, hey, you got to see a Nick Prado homer.
Yeah,
and Melendez doubled in a run.
Yeah,
good day for him. Just the pitching staff kind of is what it is.
Yeah,
2 scoreless for Nick Whitgren.
That's true.
Let's give him his flowers.
Maybe he's back.
We weren't very nice to him yesterday.
So that is what it is. Royals will take on the Marlins again tonight. Zach Greinke goes for the boys in blue. It will be. I just had his name. Jesus Luzardo, who goes on the mound for the Marlins tonight. 5:40 first pitch, 5 o'clock pregame here on 580 WIBW. This note, you found this today from, I believe this is the Athletics baseball newsletter where this came from.
Yes.
Ken Rosenthal is one of the authors of it, and he has a little scoop section in it, if you will. He just calls it Ken's Corner. And the headline for this mini section in the Athletic baseball newsletter today is titled, Royals Seeking Double Play. And he writes that for now, the Royals are giving teams interested in Aroldis Chapman 2 options, according to sources briefed on their discussions who are granted anonymity. Okay, whatever. Number 1, part with a better prospect package in order to gain control of Chapman for nearly 4 months of the regular season, rather than 2 months that an acquiring team would get by trading for him at the deadline. So in other words, give us better prospects in return. You can have Chapman literally as soon as possible. June 15th, that's the day we've talked about. Make us a deal. June 15th, when that partial no trade clause ends, you get him. We get your good prospects. I think that makes sense. You get a lot more of him for a longer period of time.
Right. You get 35 innings out of him, maybe as opposed to like 20.
Yeah, that's a lot of value. That's 15 games right there in all likelihood. Option 2, according to Ken Rosenthal, that the Royals have given teams interested in Chapman, accept Chapman as part of a package with another Royals player, enabling Kansas City to shed payroll while ensuring a better return in a trade. Okay, that makes sense. You can logically get that to, work out. Rosenthal goes on to say one club that spoke with the Royals interpreted the team's desire to attach Chapman to another player as an indication it wanted to move its highest priced asset, catcher Salvador Perez. Now, Rosenthal does add, but a more realistic package would be Chapman and fellow reliever Scott Barlow. Chapman is earning $3.75 million this season on a 1-year deal. Barlow, who's 30, is earning $5.3 million. He has another year of team control through arbitration. This is fascinatingly written, I think. And now this doesn't mean the Royals are necessarily shopping Perez. This is just one team, per Ken Rosenthal, is saying, we think that's what they mean when it comes to shedding payroll. I think it is also extremely significant, and because the best insiders, similar to like a Bill Self press conference, they choose their words very carefully. Those words are placed there for a reason. The fact that Rosenthal writes one of these options is to shed payroll. Get a better return, but also shed payroll. There's only one guy on this team who's making enough money that moving them would be a legitimate payroll move. That same player also happens to be a franchise icon. And can you imagine Royals fans at this part in team history, this point in the Royals era, if you were to say they're once again going to try to shed payroll and they're going to do it by giving away like the one player left people go to the park to see?
Man, people love Salvador Perez.
With good reason.
Yes. He's a lovable guy. He's a lovable player. And through all of what the Royals have been now for a decade plus, Sal is the constant. He was either the first or the second guy to come up from the minors and start the wave of talent ascending to the major leagues that eventually resulted in the back-to-back pennants and the 2015 World Series championship.
Mm-hmm.
He was the MVP of that World Series. And even as things took a turn for the worse after that, competitive years, but no playoffs the 2 years after that, and then just dreck since 2018, essentially, the constant presence, other than the year he was injured and missed the entire season, but the constant presence of Salvador Perez has been something that Royals fans can hang on to and appreciate. And not just his presence, but his excellence. It's not just that, oh, yeah, he's there. He's a guy, he'll hit he's on the roster, whatever. He's under contract and, he's a cult figure. No, the guy tied the team record for most home runs in a single season. He's been an all-star. He's won Gold Gloves. He's a constant. You buy his jersey. You buy the shirts with the Salvi Splash caricature on it.
Mm-hmm.
He is a part of the fabric of the Kansas City Royals. And the thought of trading him so that you can save some money for John Sherman and the ownership, that I really believe would be unforgivable. I think that there are things that you can do that suck a lot for the competitive hopes and dreams of a team that fans will accept. Like, there's a lot of grace that fans are willing to give a team who tanks and says, hey, trust our process. We're trying to rebuild. It doesn't make sense for us to spend a lot of money right now because we're trying to blood in young players. And eventually we're going to hit on some guys, and that's when we're going to spend the money and we're going to try to contend. And more in the last 20 years, you have fans who are understanding of that, who are accepting of that, who say, okay, we will, for lack of a better phrase or a less cliched one anyway, we will trust the process. There's a lot that fans can forgive and accept, even a whole bunch of losing, even 100-loss season on top of 100-loss season, because the Royals can say, hey, this worked for the Astros. They turned 3 straight wretched seasons into a dynastic run. This worked for the Cubs. They were wretched for a while, and then they turned it into some really good players, and they won it all in 2016. This is working right now, present tense, for the Orioles, or appears to be anyhow, who appear to be ascending into at least a playoff caliber team in the American League.
Yeah.
Fans will accept it. They will. Trading a player like Salvador Perez is the kind of things fans do not forgive you for. They do not forgive if you trade a franchise icon. Like, they're going to retire his number. 13 is going to go up there with 5 and 10 and 20.
Agreed.
There's no doubt about that in my mind. And to trade him and to do it for non-baseball reasons. And to not do it like, oh, this is year 20 for Sal, and he's catching every 3 days and DHing when his knees allow, and he's 39, and we're going to give him a chance to go win a ring. Like, that would be one thing. If you Ray Bork him late in his career, that's one thing. Fans might even rally behind that. Might start rooting for whatever team you trade Salvador Perez to.
Right.
But you trade this version of Salvador Perez, one of the only reasons to come out to Kauffman Stadium, one of the only threads that still connects this version of the Royals to a competitive and memorable version of the Royals. Fans will not forgive John Sherman. They will not forgive J.J. Picollo. It will tar the rest of their tenures. And for Picollo, I mean, he's a general manager. He can be hired and fired. But John Sherman, I plan to keep this team, I would think, for a while. Still in the early stages of his ownership. There's no way he does this. 0.0% chance he does this, because I think he would understand that is the kind of thing a fan would not forgive.
I would hope so. I agree, and I would certainly hope so. I think, and I'm not saying this because I want the Royals to trade Salvador Perez, because I don't. I told that to Jake today on Mic'd Up. I do not want them to trade him. And I think you can get a good return at the trade deadline or sometime in that June 15th to July 31st window, moving Chapman, moving Barlow, moving some other pieces. You'll get some nice prospects, some nice future pieces back in return. There's no doubt about that. Especially if you can turn a team that our starting is good, our hitting is good, we just got to figure out the bullpen. You might be able to get something really nice if you just moved both Chapman and Barlow. There's definitely a possibility there. I think there is at least an explainable way that would piss a lot of people off, but you could at least have a tiny bit of you that could rationalize it. If you were, and this is not going to happen for what it's worth, just a hypothetical example. Like, if you said, hey, we're trading Aroldis Chapman and Salvador Perez, and we are sending them to the St. Louis Cardinals. And in exchange, we are getting Jordan Walker, who is the number one prospect in baseball, outfielder / third baseman, literally everything the Royals could possibly want for this roster right now. And again, he is the best prospect in all of baseball, at least according to MLB.com. That is what we're getting back. I know that sucks now. I know that is hard now. But we got him and a double-A pitcher who's a top 100 guy. I don't know what the Cardinals farm system look like outside of Walker, but you understand my hypothetical. This sucks now, and we get it, but this player is a superstar in the making. He is the next Julio Rodriguez, Bryce Harper, Adley Rutschman, like that kind of player. It would make a lot of people mad, but I think realistically you could say, I get it, I hate it, but a little part of me understands business-wise why you do that. If the move is, I got to clear payroll, then just fold the team. Because what is the point? Genuinely, what is the point if the one single player you go to the park to actually watch? And yeah, maybe Witt gets there. Hopefully he does. Hopefully Vinny gets there. Maybe he's on his way to.
And you're starting to see some 7s and 9s on backs at Kauffman Stadium.
Which is awesome.
But there's still a way more 13s.
Way
more. Especially on the kids.
Yes. Everybody loves Salvi. Old people like Salvi. Middle-aged people like Salvi. Young adults, kids, everybody loves him. If you're just doing that to save some cash for John Sherman, just fold the team, because there's just no point in existing if your entire don't operate like a low-level Premier League team where your whole goal is we're just going to stay in the Prem and we're going to build up these young stars and then sell them to Man City or Man U and make a bunch of money and do it all over again in 5 years. We don't have relegation and the same kind of system in the U.S., so don't operate like you do. That would really make me upset. So you could rationalize it in some ways, but if it's a payroll move, it would be unforgivable, truly unforgivable.
Back to the YouTube comments. Christopher laid this out, and one of our more passionate Royals fans who chimes in, and I think he's exactly right. Salvador's an institution. When I was a senior in high school, Willie Wilson signed with the A's. I hated that. Losing number 13 would be 10 times worse. Because, Willie Wilson, great player, part of some great teams. He won World Series MVP.
Yep.
His number's not retired.
Yep.
That's the kind of player you're talking about with Salvador Perez. Like he's as much a part of the fabric of Kansas City at this point as Gates Barbecue. To trade him is unthinkable.
Yeah.
And again, because you've got him on long-term contract too. It'd be one thing if his contract were about to run out, and you say, you know what, we're going to cash him in as a rental player, and then you can lie to your fans, because it would be a lie, and say, well, we'll try and re-sign him in the offseason. But hey, we're doing this for Salvador Perez. You signed him to this long-term contract with the aim of making him a Royal for life. That was the idea, and you're going to turn around and trade him just for the sake of cutting payroll, and maybe we get a prospect that Baseball America thinks is a 60 grade prospect rather than a 50 grade prospect. Like, no, you can't. There's no way you can sell that, because you've already had to try and sell your fans on all this losing is with a purpose, and it's been so much losing. You've asked your fans to crawl through, what is it now, 6 years of wretched baseball, not just losing baseball, wretched, awful baseball. And then say, the one guy who's been the connective tissue to the championship team through all of this, we're just going to dump him. He's going to be a salary dump. We're going to attach him to Aroldis Chapman, a rent-a-player if ever there was one, so that maybe we can get a guy who, in a best-case scenario, does all the things that Salvador Perez did in Kansas City, already did, and means as much in a best case scenario to Kansas City that Salvador Perez already does. No, it's unfathomable. And I don't care what that insider told Ken Rosenthal. There is no way John Sherman is craven enough to try and pull that on his fans.
Let's get to a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we'll play some Random Question Tuesday, and later this hour, we'll hear from both Jalen Wilson and Keyontae Johnson. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you on 580 Sports Talk. Shortened edition of the show today due to Royals baseball in Miami. So we're off at 5. Time for a round of Random Question Tuesday. And my question for you, Dan, what is the way, as you've gotten older, that your tastes, like your taste buds have changed?
That is an excellent question. I think you get more open-minded as you get older and are more willing to try certain foods that you might not have otherwise been. That being said, for me, I'm still pretty anti most vegetables. Like I'm still kind of a child in that way. Like somebody offered me asparagus the other night and I was like, no, absolutely not.
Oh man, asparagus is a top 3 vegetable for me.
It tastes just like any other vegetable. Like they all taste the same to me and it's not good. Like I don't like asparagus. I don't like squash. I don't like zucchini. I don't like cauliflower. I don't really like broccoli. I don't like a lot of vegetables. Like I don't care how, you can tell me, well, you could cook them and you can season them, this, that, and the third. I don't care. I don't like them.
That's fair.
I don't like them. I'll eat a salad. If I need something green in my diet here and there, I'll eat like a simple garden salad, like cucumbers, pickles, get them out of my face. But there are things that I think, I think the best way to say it is I am more apt to eat with my eyes now. You know, they say that you do that, to eat with your eyes.
Yeah.
Like if something looks really appealing, then I am willing to try it. Like if it's something that is presented really nicely, then I am more willing to try it. Also, tomatoes and salad. I used to be down on that. I'm up on that now. So
love tomatoes. I eat hotter things now. I've been eating a lot more hot stuff. Like last night, I went out and got wings, and I split my order, half double dipped. I went to a certain place that has a location both in Topeka and Lawrence that might be named for the 3rd president of the United States. And I got half double dipped and half hot. I never used to get truly hot wings. They were delicious, and I didn't even feel like they were that hot. So I'm into hot food now, which I feel like the older you get is something you eat less of for a lot of people. Not me, though. Give me hot stuff now. Yeah.
And then that wasn't like you didn't like spicy at all, like spicy sauces? Or...
Yeah, no, I was never really into spicy hot food. None of my family eats anything like that. So I never was exposed to it or never chose to eat it. I was always, give me mild, maybe medium if I'm feeling frisky, not hot now. I mean, hot.
All right. Turn it up the spice.
Yeah, turn it up.
All right. I also have a food-related random question Tuesday today. If you are lined up at a deli and ordering a deli sandwich, what is the ideal? Like the Dagwood Bumstead, deli lunch meat sandwich. Like, what are you going with? Which meats, which toppings? What are you doing with a deli sandwich?
Okay, I'm the worst deli customer because I don't like cheese on sandwiches. Like a grilled cheese, fine. But
I also don't like cheese on deli sandwiches. So you and I are right there. Like I don't need it. Like if it's
right,
if it's part of it, fine. But I'm not going to ask for it.
The number one meat for me is roast beef. I am a big roast beef fan. I want that to be the core of my sandwich. Low key though, corned beef. I'll do a corned beef sandwich. Very tasty. So I'm starting with roast beef. I like tomato on my sandwich. Lettuce is fine. If it's crunchier, I would prefer that.
Mm-hmm.
I like a fairly simple sandwich. There's one I get at a bakery in Lawrence. It's roast beef, Swiss cheese, horseradish, and lettuce. Not usually a horseradish guy, but that sandwich, delightful. So yeah, fairly basic, but roast beef is the core. Roast beef, tomato, the rest, yeah, I can take or leave anything else.
We have a text for the 785 that says our cheese takes are making it hard for them to abide by this show. We're not, as a general rule, anti-cheese, like cheese on a hamburger, cheese on pizza, not as a general rule, sometimes a spreadable cheese.
I'll just eat, Abby and I will buy just chunks of cheddar at the store and I'll just eat it. I love cheese.
We are not, as a general rule, anti-cheese. I don't necessarily think that a good deli sandwich needs one. Like an Italian sub, put a little provolone on that. I'm good with that. But if I'm just going walk up to the deli counter, what do you want? I'm going turkey over roast beef. But if I can get them both,
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's
I'm
the win.
big fan of both. Like, I'm not huge on like the shaved ham. Like, I like the honey baked ham,
Okay.
but like the shaved like lunch meat ham, not my favorite. I'd rather turkey and roast beef. Yeah, lettuce, tomato, little onion. I like a fancy mustard.
Oh,
A little bit of mayo. Don't overwhelm it with mayo, but just a little bit of mayo and a little if you've got it, a little oil and vinegar.
ooh.
You know, they
Yeah.
at certain establishments they may call that Mike's Way or you know, other places that offer the oil and vinegar. I'm up for that. Give it a little
Yeah.
juice.
My wife likes the vinegar on sandwiches. She's a big fan of that.
So yeah, that's my go-to deli sandwich.
Let's get to a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from Keyontae Johnson and Jalen Wilson here on 580 Sports Talk. Back on 580 Sports Talk, Brendan and Dan here with you. The NBA draft is just 16 days away, which means all the former KU and K-State players who stayed in the draft are doing their workouts with teams right now, their showcases. And that includes both Keyontae Johnson and Jalen Wilson working out with the Golden State Warriors yesterday, and both spoke to the media afterward. We will start with Keyontae Johnson. Here is what the former Kansas State Wildcat third-team All-American had to say following his workout with the Warriors.
Yeah, shooting is definitely I think I'm trying to show teams. A lot of teams I haven't shot a lot of threes, so just going out there and showing reps that I'm comfortable with shooting a three, catch, shoot off the dribble.
The term tweener used to be a negative. Now it's almost become a positive as far as being well-rounded. Are you more comfortable using your quicks in the front court or using your strength in the back court?
I think I'm getting more comfortable using my quickness, just knowing when to attack a big and when to attack a guard, just reading the defense better. I feel like going to K-State, watching film a lot with Coach Perry and Coach Tang helped me see the defense. So just going out there trying to carry it over to today's workout.
You did shoot over 40% from three-point range last year. How much of that part of the game for you has grown in the last year?
It's grown a lot because at Florida, I didn't take as many threes. So I feel like at K-State, Coach Tang done a great job. Let me showcase me playing on the wing more, getting more open shots. A lot of plays just ran through me this year. So I got to showcase more than what I did at Florida. But I feel like this year I showed that I can catch and shoot, do something off the dribble, and do it at a high rate.
Who are some of the players that you kind of build your game around, and why are those the examples for you?
My favorite player is Kawhi, but guys I've been watching, like PJ Tucker, just seeing how he impacted the game on defensively, can knock down open threes and rebound at a high rate. So just trying to find guys that's in the playoffs that knowing how to get on the court and just reading those guys. So PJ Tucker's been a guy I've been watching.
You're obviously physically NBA ready. Where would you say you have a lot to work on?
My assist turnover ratios, I feel like a better decision with the ball. Instead of taking the extra dribble, just extra pass to my teammate. Me on defense, off ball, I feel like I'd be laxed a little bit. So just showing that I can stay in the stance. Defense, showing that my conditioning is well this year. So I've been working on just ball handling and my conditioning.
You had that well-noted collapse where you passed out and you missed 2 seasons. You're an older guy coming into the draft. You're 23. Do you feel that that's an advantage for you because they talk about the older guys are more ready to go? They have to less learning.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I should come in just knowing what it takes to stay on the floor, just knowing how in this level the guys that work the hardest, you get the most respected. And I feel like I fit in those category. I feel like I work hard. I want to learn. I'm not the type of guy that's like scared to ask for help. I try to ask for the older guys for help just to get myself better and get people better around me. So I want to be on the winning team, and I do whatever to take the win.
As far as your health, are you tired of talking about it, or is it just something you always are going to have to deal with?
Yeah, it's something I always got to deal with. It's one of my stories to tell, and like the more people ask, the more I get comfortable telling them. I'm never tired of telling it. It's inspirational to people. So just when people ask me, I'm willing to tell them everything. Just never give up, man. A lot of people say I'm an inspiration to them. So.
How good did it feel to have that full clearance pretty recently, though, and kind of have that checked off your box for NBA teams too, to go, hey, I'm good to go. Let's play ball now.
It was real. Like from my shoulder drop, it was a good birthday present for me. So, I mean, I really can't complain about it. It was just blessed to finally get cleared and finally go ahead and showcase the teams what I'm capable of doing.
And then you did have that year at Florida where you were almost like an extra coach. They call you Coach Key and everything. What was that like as far as being able to step back a little bit, and that might be able to have you see the game in a different way as well?
I feel like that year helped me a lot. Coach White, he asked me what did I want to do once I got out of the hospital, and I told him I was trying to do whatever I can to help the team win. So he asked me, do I want to be a player coach? And I told him yes. And that year he held me to expectation. He told me to come in every day around 11 for at least an hour and a half. And I was just break down film with him. I ended up having to do scout for the team. So I had to break down scouts for Kentucky, Tennessee, like big games, and do the personnel for the team. And I feel like that helped me for this year, just knowing how to read film and know how to read the defense and everything out there.
How much do you think that kind of will help you be a kind of step into the game and be able to win right away? You're 23, you have multiple years, all of that as kind of a talking point for you with these different teams?
I feel like that's definitely going to be a big help. Now it's like you play a lot of games in the NBA, so you got to watch film. It's a lot of great opponents you won against every night. You never have no off night. So you got to know with the man you're going against, who you guard. I might end up guarding KD or DeMar DeRozan, somebody like that. So you just got to know what to do to maintain them and stop them from their strength.
Can you just kind of describe what has the process been like for you since you left Manhattan?
Since I left Manhattan, the process has been a little long. It took me, I had to go to my doctor in the Mayo Clinic to get all my up-to-date records. And then I had to, once I got all my up-to-date record, I finally went to my agent, Priority Sport, Mark Bartelstein, and he had me doing conditioning because I wasn't clear yet, so I had to do conditioning for like at least 2 weeks. The combine came, all I did was just medical and interviews. And then on May 22nd, that Friday, whenever that Friday was, I got cleared, and my agent just set up workouts. So I got 4 workouts in 7 days, all on the West Coast. This is my 3rd one. I go to LA right after this, and I just been on the go
What's been the biggest adjustment for you?
Just the pace, just knowing that it's faster, it's more possession in this game. So just knowing how to manage my pace, manage my condition, just getting up and down the court and showing that I'm still fit and can shoot while I'm tired.
Did you say at the combine you just did workouts and interviews?
No, I didn't. I couldn't work out. I just did
Okay.
medical stuff and interviews with teams.
How hard was that to watch all those scrimmages and be there
Yeah,
and not be able to play?
It was definitely hard, especially like the medical, just knowing that I already went through the screening that they wanted to see, but had to keep going over. So it was just your patience and mental toughness, just going through that was all like a mental thing. So
Now that you're doing these workouts, and I mean the draft's only a few weeks away, have you let yourself kind of reflect and go, this is happening, everything that you've been through, that you're almost at this point now?
Yes, every night, at least the night before I come to work out, I just take a 30-minute break just to myself, just listen to music and just cherish the moment. I call my homeboys. I never been on the West Coast, so I call all my friends and I tell them like, yo, I'm really out here, and they just like, keep going, bro. You setting away. So when I call my closest friends, they inspire me to keep going, just motivate me, and I just sit back and like reflect and thank God for the opportunity.
Just any specific memories as far as watching the Warriors, the championship, Steph, all these kind of guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Steph is one of the best players I've seen. He's one of my favorite players. So just watching them, how they get up and down the court, just moving without the basketball. It's a fast-paced team. Like to get out on a fast break, and I feel like that's something I strive to do. I like to get out and dunk the ball, show that I can catch and shoot, and I feel like this could be a good spot for me.
I was going to ask you about when you declared for the draft, you left open the possibility of returning. Was that partly because you hadn't been cleared yet? Was that kind of a did you actually consider that at some point?
No, the insurance policy, that's been a waste before I started playing. Well, during the season at Kansas State, I just had it open because I wasn't sure if I was going to get cleared in time. Just had to have a second option just for my career, I guess. My agency told me to leave it open just in case. But when we went through the NBA panel, we told the NBA people that I had to make a decision before the 31st. My goal was always, if I would have got cleared, I was going to stay in the draft. So once I got cleared, it was just easy for me to make the decision.
So that's what I meant about insurance. Just that was giving yourself an out if
okay, yeah.
Work out.
Yes, sir.
Also, just wanted to ask you real quick, have you been in touch with Marquise at all, and wondered how he's doing?
Yeah, I've been. Marquise actually called me after my first workout. I told him he's one of the guys. He's doing good. I know he was in Washington. I got to call him today. I know he's in LA, so I might see him tonight. But he's been doing good. He's enjoying the process. Wish him nothing but the best, and he always know I'm on his side.
So that is Keyontae Johnson, the former K-State Wildcat, who spoke after working out for the Golden State Warriors yesterday. What about Jalen Wilson, the former Kansas Jayhawk? Let's hear what Jay Will had to say yesterday.
So how'd the workout go today?
I thought it was great. Always fun to have the opportunity to compete with other high-level guys, and especially at a winning place, a winning environment like the Warriors. Really fun.
You've had a couple workouts already. What are some of the differences between the workouts?
They all have their, specific drills they do. A lot of them are shooting, obviously, 3-on-3. This was the first time I did like the shooting drill at the end, 2.5 minutes. So that was a pretty cool drill. I've never seen that one.
You played at the combine. You played better in your second game. Talk about everything I've read. There was really good competition in those games. For sure. Combine's full of guys that are hungry, wanting to produce and show what they can do at the next level, show what they can do for themselves. And I thought it was a good opportunity to play. I always have fun playing. I think it's always fun to get out there and compete regardless of the outcome. Just having the opportunity to play is what you can ask for. What are you trying to showcase in your game to these coaches? Just a guy that's versatile. I want to be a guy that can rebound at a high level, defend many positions, and knock down open shots. Being a guy that you can rely on to guard different positions, and when the time comes to make the shot, make the shot.
Jalen, how did going through the pre-draft process in past years help prepare you for this year?
I think it just gave me the awareness of how it goes, and understanding you got to be in the best shape of your life to be able to fly to one city, work out, fly the next day, being able to work out and be able to do it at a high level. I think it takes a lot of preparation, taking care of your body, and being mature and understanding what's best for yourself to put yourself in the best opportunity when you're showcasing yourself in front of all these teams.
Last year, everybody kind of waited for KJ Adams, somebody to replace him, and now he's looking like he's going to be one of the guys again. What is it about KJ that makes him, so successful?
KJ is the guy that's all in. He's bought in on what it takes to win, what coaches ask of him, and that's a guy that you can't take off the floor. And, every team needs a guy that's going to do whatever he can for the team. Doesn't care if he scores 0 points. But you don't. You look at the stat sheet, you may not see anything, but if you watch the game, you see that he was the guy that won the game for him, and that's the guy that KJ's always been. And he's taking full advantage of his opportunity and his role, and I've been super happy and proud of him.
Were there times this season when Coach Self would take you aside and maybe point something out at practice or during a game where he would say, at the next level, blah blah blah, or like make special concessions for knowing you're going to be a pro to like show you certain things?
Yeah, I think a lot of times college obviously isn't as fast as the NBA. And, he was never a guy that let me settle. You may say you may get away with it now in college, but at the next level, guys are going to be there. Guys are going to be jumping higher, all those different things. And that's why I always, say I had an advantage of having one of the best coaches of all time coach me because, those are things you learn every single day. And, I just used my opportunity with him for my 4 years to learn as much as possible. And, like you said, him being able to coach me on and off the floor and show me different things that not a lot of eyes can see like his was a great advantage I had.
What kind of notes are you taking on the teams to know that you would be a good fit there and they would be a good fit for you?
Yeah. One, to show my personality, showing who I am as a person. I think a lot of the times there's a lot of good basketball players, but it'll come down to little things, how you are off the floor, how you are with teammates in the locker room. And, I think a lot of the times these teams have seen a lot of basketball from us and they want to see how we are as a person and how we are on the floor. If shots aren't falling or if shots are falling, how those reactions and emotions, how are they staying the same, how are they changing, and to try to be the best person I can be who I am. And, one, to show them that I'm having fun. And I think that that helps a lot.
What's the best advice you've been given from coaches so far in the process?
Just to have fun. I think that's the biggest thing we all lose perception on is that one, you only get to do this one time. You only get to, I did it twice, but I think a lot of times you only get to do this one time. And just take advantage of the moment. Once you get selected and you go to your team, you get drafted, it's like a new journey. And just to have fun with this process. I know it's hard and I know it feels like it's strenuous on your body, but, this is one of the best times of our lives and we're young and we get to live it. So just to have fun in the moment.
You laugh, but that is really a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Gone through this before.
Yeah. I say the only difference from last year is that I wasn't too fit in like I am now. I was still testing, not sure if I was going back, but, I still got like 3 or 4 workouts in last year. But, like I said, being 2 feet in now, I want to have fun every day and be able to show who I am on and off the floor.
That is Jalen Wilson after we just heard from Keyontae Johnson, both of whom worked out for the Golden State Warriors this week. I don't know where these two are going to end up getting drafted. I know after the lottery and after the scrimmages, Jalen had fallen a little bit down some public, analyst draft boards, maybe more mid-second round. Obviously, McCullough's not getting picked. He's back at KU. Grady Dick's going to be a lottery pick. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, the Ringer just released a new mock draft today, had him 11th to Orlando.
Yeah.
Most mocks have him in that lottery range.
Yeah, like 9 to 11 is mostly where I've seen him. I think Keyontae is one of the more interesting players in that back half of the second round. I can absolutely see why a team would want to take a flyer on him. I can also understand why, and you heard one of the questions that was asked of him, they see him as a little bit too much of a tweener, maybe not a great spot, maybe he's a two-way guy. We'll see in just 16 days. Right now, we have to get to a break for the national and local news. When we come back to lead off the 4 o'clock hour, we've got today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, What is Wrong with You, and Michael Swain will join us. All that is next hour here on 580 Sports Talk. 4 o'clock and final hour of 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero here with you. Off early today due to Royals baseball. The Royals are taking on the Marlins. Game 2 of their set coming up tonight. Pregame at 5. First pitch at 5:40. Right here on 580 WIBW and the Royals Radio Network. It'll be Greinke on the hill for the Royals. Jesus Luzardo on the mound for the Marlins. Royals get the win tonight?
Going to be tough. Luzardo's pretty good. Misses a lot of bats. Being left-handed makes him tough for a pretty lefty-heavy Royals lineup. Nobody ever went broke betting on the Royals to lose, at least not this year.
Yeah, I'll take the Marlins. The Marlins have been hot recently. Now, granted, they have played the A's and the Royals back-to-back for the last 4 games. But all of them, they've won by multiple runs, which may be significant if you like certain types of bets on baseball. Coming up here in this 4 o'clock hour of the show, it is our final hour today. So we've got our headlines here in just a moment. We've also got What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, coming up in a few minutes. And we'll have Michael Swain joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for this week's edition of Jayhawk Weekly. If you've got any KU questions, by the way, I never remember to open this up to the text line and to the YouTube comments. If you've got any KU-related questions, let us know. We'll ask Michael coming up when we chat with him later on in the hour. 785-272-9429 is the text line number, and the YouTube comment section is open as well. The name of our YouTube channel, as always, Sports on 580 WIBW. We've got plenty, and I mean plenty, to get to in our headlines today, so let's just dive right in for these June 6th 580 Sports Talk headlines. And why don't we dive in with the biggest one of the day in the world of golf, of all places. But after a couple of years now of legal battles between the PGA Tour, the World Tour, as well as, most notably, the Live Golf League, after a bunch of defections from the PGA Tour to Live Golf for a massive amount of blood money per player, and just a lot of barbs being thrown back and forth. It was revealed early this morning that the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and Live Golf are unifying. They are merging together as one larger commercial corporation, business, industry, essentially, and they are becoming one unit. The tour called this a landmark agreement on a global basis. Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, said this today on CNBC. There's been a lot of tension in our sport over the last couple years. What we're talking about today is coming together to unify the game of golf and to do so under one umbrella. We've recognized that together we can have a far greater impact on this game than we can get working apart. The game of golf is better for what we've done here today. So what this actually is going to look like in terms of competition and guys rejoining the PGA Tour, getting their world ranking points and all of that, I don't know if all of those details have been completely hammered out at this point, but this is happening. This is a thing now. The PGA Tour and Live Golf, for now, are going to remain separate tours, but are going to essentially be governed by the same mutually agreed upon golf governing body. I have seen people hypothesize that might actually lead to the demise of Live even sooner, because one, the PGA Tour is still the bigger brand and the better competition, but two, the folks, the investment fund,
the PIF,
that wanted to get its blood money clause in the game of international golf has done that. Yes. To a degree, there's no need for the Live Tour anymore. So, they've got the PGA.
So this is the culmination of some long-held interest that the Public Investment Fund has had in getting its tentacles into professional golf.
For the record, just real quick, for those who might not know or haven't paid as much attention to this, the Public Investment Fund is Saudi Arabia's state fund. That is their money. That is their oil money.
Yes, that is their money, and they are no strangers to investing in major American corporations. They're also no stranger in investing in professional sports, most notably soccer, global soccer. They bought a piece of Newcastle United, a football club or soccer club in the English Premier League. And now that club can buy whoever they want with that PIF money, they made the Champions League for the first time ever this year. They are also investing in some of their own teams in the Saudi Premier League, and have been able to convince Cristiano Ronaldo and now Karim Benzema, another global soccer superstar, to play for those teams in that league. And, oh, yeah, they might get Lionel Messi, too, who is the soccer star of soccer stars.
And, we know the golfers who left for the Live Tour. We know they got a lot of money.
Yes.
Karim Benzema, one of the best players of all time. One of the striker. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He reportedly got a 3-year contract to play for a club in Saudi Arabia worth $643 million.
A 3-year contract, 643 million euros. Yeah.
Untaxed.
Yep. No tax in Saudi Arabia. So, it's monopoly money that the PIF can throw around. And it was probably 4 or 5 years ago that they went to the PGA Tour and said, like, hey, we'd like to invest in the PGA Tour. We'd like to invest in golf.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a sport with like broad global appeal that the PIF wanted to invest in. The PGA Tour said no. The PGA Tour wasn't interested in the PIF's money. The PIF, with some help from good old Greg Norman, they started their own golf league and had the financial wherewithal to be able to not collapse the PGA Tour, but they stung the PGA Tour by getting popular, talented players like Phil Mickelson, Pete Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Sergio Garcia, like varying stages in the careers of all of those guys. But
guys,
popular, accomplished players, the kind of players you might turn on the golf on Saturday and Sunday to watch if they're in contention a PGA Tour event. To get those players, Cam Smith, another one, to go and play on the Live Tour. And now that there is this merger, it makes Live Golf completely superfluous. The PIF doesn't need it anymore. They got into golf. They bought a major stake in global professional golf today is what they did. Now, while the head of the PIF is going to be the chairman of the board of this new group, this new larger commercial business, the PGA Tour is going to maintain a majority of the seats on the board.
Okay.
And so a majority of the influence. So if you're chairman of the board, you don't have more board seats than anybody else. You're kind of like the King of England. Like it's pretty, it's
somewhat figurehead like.
Yes, you're a figurehead is what you are. A very rich one, but in one with some power, but a figurehead nonetheless. So this is probably the end for Live Golf, and the players who defected for Live Golf are probably going to, at some point or another, be welcomed back onto the PGA Tour. And the PGA Tour, as you might expect, would maybe look at and in fact, this is in the press release or the letter that Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, wrote to the PGA Tour rank and file, the players. Said that they're going to evaluate Live Golf, what worked, what didn't, and incorporate whatever worked into their product. So I don't know, maybe some of those events that you don't think about that aren't the elevated events or the major events, maybe there's a team element or a shotgun start element to some of those if that's what the PGA Tour decides. The bigger conflict, there are two conflicts at hand here. Number one, nobody outside of Jay Monahan and what is the gentleman's name? Yasir, what is his name? Yasir Al-Rumayyan.
Yes.
Al-Rumayyan, perhaps, and I apologize if I'm not getting that correct. Yasir Al-Rumayyan, who is the governor of the PIF, and he's going to be the chairman of the board of the whole thing. It feels like it was those two guys who came up with this, because every player on both the PGA and the Live Golf Tours, to a man, were stunned this morning. They all found out like you and I did on Twitter.
Apparently, as did the TV partners.
Yes, TV partners were kept in the dark. So I imagine corporate partners have also been kept a little bit in the dark here.
They took the it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission approach.
Yes, 100%. So you've got right now, like as we speak, I would imagine perturbed group of PGA Tour professionals having right now a meeting with Jay Monahan at the site of this week's PGA Tour scheduled event, which is the Canadian Open. That is a players meeting that started an hour ago and by all accounts is still ongoing. Some players are tweeting from it, like rank and file PGA Tour players, like Wesley Bryan has promised to go on his Twitch channel afterwards and spill all the tea if you're into that kind of thing. So, yeah, you've got some pretty peeved players, and not just from the PGA Tour side. Cameron Tringali, who defected for LIV after the last PGA Tour season, also did not seem particularly thrilled about the whole thing, because the other conflict becomes the guys who stayed on the PGA Tour turned down preposterous amounts of money to go play on the LIV Golf Tour.
Yep.
We know this because we know how much money the guys who did take the PIF money to go play on the LIV Tour got. Those players get to keep all that money? Those LIV players, are those contracts still good? Do they get made whole? Is Phil Mickelson going to make his $500 million on this? He could use every penny, is what I understand. Are those guys going to be made whole? And if they are, then how does that make the guys on the PGA Tour field, the guys who were talked into staying by Jay Monahan, the Rory McIlroys, the John Rahms, the Colin Morikawas, the stars of golf who stood by the PGA Tour, who were told stay with us and turned down that money. And now they get sold out and their boss is the same guy that they were decided not to work for. They were told not to work for, that they may have had a moral objection to working for, a very valid moral objection to working for. And they've been sold out by the commissioner of their league to that public investment fund. We had a texter from the 402 ask if Monahan should be fired. He should resign. He should resign immediately because he failed his membership, and his membership cannot trust a word that comes from his mouth from this point forward. It's just it's a wild story. Nothing about it leaked. Nothing about it anybody appeared to see coming except for the two people who made it happen. And now Monahan is in a room full of very angry guys in Dockers and polo shirts having to try and explain himself. And I'm sure that is a fascinating meeting. I would love to be a fly on the wall of that Players PGA Tour meeting right now.
Yeah, that's the big news in the sports world today, though, is that the two bitter rivals for about a year are now not just friends. The two of them are actually partners for the long haul.
And everybody, well, the power gets what they want here.
Yes.
Like the PIF, like we said, they get professional golf. They have a minority stake, essentially a minority ownership stake in professional golf.
Worldwide.
The sport.
Yeah.
Worldwide. The PGA Tour and the DP World Tour to a lesser extent, they get the money to pay their players and hold bigger events and do bigger things, because it was hard, I would imagine, for Jay Monahan to have to go to all the corporate partners and say, hey, we need $30 million purses now to be competitive and keep the PGA Tour event that you sponsor. We need you to break off part of this $25 million purse or this $30 million purse, which might used to be $15 million. Now we need it to get to 25. Now we need to get to 30. Well, now you can do that because now you're going to get billions with a B from the public investment fund. So everybody gets what they want out of this. And if you're a golf fan, you get closer to a world where all the best players are competing against each other week in, week out, which I presume is a good thing. Wrestling with the morality of now because it's one thing, like if you're a Newcastle United fan and the PIF buys your club, like you still kind of like, you can feel not great about it. But at the end of the day, what have you always wanted? Your club to contend, your club to win trophies, your club to play in England. And you're getting that now. So like, you're getting something out of it. You might feel like you need to take a shower, but you're getting something from it. This is different. This is the PIF controlling or having at least a minority ownership stake in an entire sport.
Yeah.
Like the professional mechanism of the sport. And if you love golf, but you can't abide by supporting the public investment fund, which is a totally valid stance to take, then like, what do you do? I guess
Corn Ferry.
Play more golf.
Yeah.
Watch. I mean, the LPGA is already taking PIF money, and ain't that, like, yeah, get more involved with golf at the grassroots level, the amateur level. Watch college golf, high school golf.
Yeah.
That's your option now if you're a fan of the sport and morally turned off by this, which you would have every right to be.
I don't like it, but also I'm not a golf fan, so I'm gonna consume the same amount and pretend that I'm righteous for it.
I'm probably going to consume about the same amount of golf that I did previously, which I like to watch. I like the sport of golf. I like to watch good golf.
Yeah.
I like to watch the majors. I like to watch those events. I didn't like to like my biggest objection to live was it was exhibition golf. It was fake, and nothing about it felt real. Nothing about it meant anything.
Yeah.
The PGA Tour means something, although I think it means a little less today than it did 24 hours ago. Let's do some more headlines here on the 5A Sports Talk headlines. Again, bringing them to you early. Your clock did not skip on you today. We're doing them early because we are out again at 5 o'clock today. Let's do a real quick
playoffs
roundup. It's a playoff roundup, and there's only one series to talk about. It's the Stanley Cup Final, which is now 2-0 Vegas after they thumped the Florida Panthers 7-2 last night. I thought the Panthers would win this series, not just me being a hater. I thought the Panthers would win because coming into the series, they had the hot goalie, Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
They no longer have the hot goalie. Bobrovsky was pulled after allowing 4 goals last night. Now the hot goalie is Vegas's Aiden Hill. It can change like that in hockey, which is the blessing and the curse of it. But right now, Vegas looks unstoppable, and the Florida Panthers look like they're just trying to goad them into fights every shift.
Yeah.
And that in hockey is an admission that you are beaten.
Yeah.
And I do not expect this series. Honestly, again, I was obviously wrong in picking the Panthers to win the series, but I might be a little surprised if this series goes back to Vegas.
I didn't watch a ton of the game. I mean, I checked the score, saw it was already 2-0. They immediately made it 3-0, and I thought, okay, well, I'm done. I do not need to watch this. So I watched my favorite baseball team get shut out instead. Anyway, they just look like they're done. They just look, like you said, goading the other team into fights. It's cheap. It's Bush League stuff.
Florida's best player, Matthew Tkachuk, has 3 misconduct penalties in 2 games in this series. That's an admission that I got nothing. I have to try and get under their skin because we can't beat them playing straight up.
Yeah. Golden Knights are going to win that series. Yeah. And at this point, I would be fairly surprised if it wasn't a sweep as well. Certainly no more than 5.
Yeah. Maybe their 23 real fans will get to see a parade. Can't do it on the Strip. It's all torn up. I don't know where they'll do it. Maybe they'll do it on stage between at the intermission of the David Copperfield show. They'll bring them out. That's all that team is. They're an attraction. They're an attraction. They're not a franchise. They got no soul. There's no soul to the Vegas Golden Knights.
I would imagine they have a decent, like, legit fan base. They were the first team there. Probably more legit than the Raiders fan base.
It's something to do in Vegas. You go see the share residency, and then you go see a hockey game.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that live there. What's the permanent population? 647,000 people. It's a real city.
It's hot Milwaukee.
Oh, that's mean to Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a fine place as long as you stay out of like Northwest Milwaukee.
I forget who called it hot Milwaukee. That's not mine.
That's mean. Next headline for me. Have you ever been to Puerto Rico?
No, I have not.
Would you be interested in going the first week of August?
Sure.
You can go and watch the Kansas Jayhawks. This has been rumored for quite a while, but it is now official. Kansas basketball will be taking an international trip this August. They are headed down to Puerto Rico, the American Protectorate, the American Commonwealth. They will play games on the 3rd, 5th, and 7th of August against pro and club teams that compete in Puerto Rico's BSN Basketball League. I wonder if they'll play against Yadi Molina's team. That would be fun.
That would be.
The games will be played at the Coliseo Guillermo Angulo in Carolina, Puerto Rico, and will be aired both on radio and then TV broadcasts or internet broadcasts will be announced at a further date. The NCAA allows you to take a trip every 4 years. KU is going to take one in 2021, but COVID, so that didn't end up happening. The last time KU went international was 2017. That was the famed Italy trip that Dedrick Lawson didn't get to go on because he punched a teammate. 28. Yeah, what a year that was. He wasn't even he was a transfer at the time. He wasn't even playing. But that's the last time KU went internationally. They also took trips in 12, 08, and 04. Plus 2015. Remember when they went to Korea and they won the gold medal of the World University Games?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Jamari Traylor still talks about how much they hated Korean food when they went over there. But yeah, KU will play an international series. I think that's good for a team that is made up almost entirely of newcomers and transfers. Seems like a good idea to get a few extra games and a few extra practices in.
Oh, 100%. No doubt about it. Yeah, texter from the 75 who agrees. This Puerto Rico trip will be a huge benefit to this team in March. Any additional time to bond and mesh can't be understated for a roster this overturned. I think that texter hit it right on the head.
KU had a practice today. I think it was one of Bill Self's camps. They had a practice, and I watched just the clips on Instagram, and I thought, DeJuan Harris is on the same scrimmage team as Hunter Dickinson. I'm shocked. Those two, I bet they room together.
Right.
I bet you Bill Self stuck the two of them together. He's like, you two are going to have the best connection I've ever seen in my life.
By December, they'll be finishing each other's sentences. This headline broke yesterday and then was kind of fleshed out late last night. There were some reports yesterday that the NFL was investigating a member of the Indianapolis Colts for possible violations of the league gambling policy. Well, that member of the Colts is cornerback and kick returner Isaiah Rodgers. And we know this because Rodgers volunteered the information himself, going onto Twitter last night and issuing a statement in which he vows to take full responsibility for his actions, saying, quote, "I know I have made mistakes and am willing to do whatever it takes to repair the situation. The last thing I ever wanted to do is be a distraction to the Colts organization, my coaches, and my teammates. I've let people down that I care about. I made an error in judgment. It's an honor to play in the NFL. I've never taken that lightly. I'm very sorry for all of this." The sportsbook account in question that allegedly belongs to Rodgers, but was not under his name, had approximately 100 bets placed on that account, including on Colts games.
Can't do that.
Which is the biggest of no-nos.
Yeah.
Like, if you can get suspended for a year for betting on other NFL games, betting on your own team might be a lifetime ban from the league. And I think Isaiah Rodgers is copping pleas a little early and hoping to perhaps avoid that fate. He shouldn't, by the way. Like, if you bet on your own team, you should be ejected for life. Yes.
I would imagine, because the rule is if you get caught betting on the NFL as a player, you get 1 year, indefinite suspension, at least 1 year. And after 1 year passes, you can apply for reinstatement. So Calvin Ridley, for example, 1 year, he applied for reinstatement as soon as he could, and they let him back in. Calvin Ridley allegedly placed one parlay bet on 3 NFL games, including on the Falcons, who he was a member of at the time, to win the game. I don't know, and it's because I don't remember, if Alex Karras and Paul Hornung back in the 60s got popped for betting on the Lions and Packers. I don't know. They both got a year way back then. This has been a policy for forever. If it turns out that it was all bets on the Colts to win games, bro, that's not very smart gambling. But, like, at least you could make the argument, he wasn't throwing it. That's not an integrity of the game thing. But then again, there's so much information that isn't public, stats or injuries or whatever, that's still an integrity of the game issue. But at least you could pass it off as, look, I wasn't throwing anything. It's a year, and it might end at that. If it turns out Isaiah Rodgers, 4 weeks in a row, put $50 on the Colts to lose, against the spread or even on the money line, that's probably it for Isaiah Rodgers' career. Like, that is truly, you have influence over the game. And you come up with the same problem that, okay, in week 8, just random week, you bet on the Colts to win. Week 9, you did not place a bet on the Colts, your own team. Why is that? Why did you bet weeks 8 and 10 on your team, but not week 9? What was going on that? Like, there's just so much that could be wrong here that he's going to get at least a year. I would not be surprised if it was longer.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't bet on the Colts to lose, I imagine he won't get a lifetime ban. But honestly, could you blame the NFL? Like, you've got to be stringent about this. And, for his sake, I hope he learned his lesson if he gets back in the league. But I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. Let's get a real quick look at A-Watch before we get to our commercial break.
Nope, you surprised me, so I don't have the music.
I'm sorry. That's okay.
No, all good.
You think of David Hasselhoff. A-Watch, they lost again. They are terrible. Also, Nevada might not want them. They did not vote on public funding for a new stadium on the Strip before the end of the legislative session in Nevada. And Nevada is a state that goes one legislative session every 2 years. So it's more than 18 months before they will meet again. I hope this keeps them in Oakland. Honestly, I hope this makes them like a homeless baseball team. And I would feel bad for the fans, and I'd feel bad for the players who did not ask for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But John Fisher and Dave Cavall absolutely deserve it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, throw them in the trash. That does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's take a break. We've got a quick round of What Is Wrong With You next on 580 Sports Talk.
Looking for something to
Got a quick round of What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk before we get to Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain. As always, What Is Wrong With You is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, which saves your time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to metal. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard. Our champion for the week from yesterday, the Box Bandit, the guy who robbed a store,
Phone repair store,
with a box on his head.
a cardboard box that he removed in the middle of committing the crime, giving the security cameras a 4K look at his face. He was snatched up by the police just down the road in the same shopping center, drinking with his friends.
Yeah, just getting drunk. What's your story today, Dan?
So we're going to Huntingdon County, Pennsylvania, where we meet 43-year-old Sarah Pennington and 44-year-old Shem Miller facing drug-related charges after they were pulled over for traffic violations. On Saturday, May 27th, just before 8:30 p.m., an officer pulled over a truck after they observed it swerving over the double yellow lines. Once an officer pulled the truck over, Shem Miller dove out of the vehicle he was driving and then led the officer in a foot pursuit, tried to jump over an embankment but fell. At that point, the officer tased him. Well, that felt maybe like a unnecessary
insult
move.
to injury there.
Took him into custody. Pennington was arrested as well. She had active arrest warrants. Miller and Pennington both allegedly admitted that there were meth, dope, and fentanyl in the truck, according to the criminal complaint. This is where they started to sell each other out. Miller allegedly said most of the drugs belonged to Pennington. Pennington told officers the meth was hers, but the fentanyl was Shem's. According to the official documents, Pennington said Miller traded fentanyl for a TV.
Ooh.
Miller then told officers there were stolen items in the truck and that Pennington had stolen them from Walmarts across the state and then would pawn the items in the Reading area. A search warrant for the truck was obtained the next day, yielding 95 stamp baggies of suspected fentanyl, a cylinder containing large meth crystals, an electronic scale, bags of empty dime baggies, a glass smoking device, and other miscellaneous drug paraphernalia, and also a multitude of items, one of which is a TV that was stolen from Walmart. The other items have not been determined to have been stolen from Walmart as of this time.
I like specifying large meth crystals, not that small stuff. That's the real stuff.
They both face a lot of charges.
Oh, man. That's good. We don't get a lot of stories of people selling each other out like that.
No.
That's pretty funny. That's really good. Not a good crime. It's, in fact, very bad. I also love the image in my head of someone diving out of this truck. My story is going to take us to Leesburg, Florida, where a woman landed in jail after posting videos to social media in which she trashed and bleached her roommate's possessions. The videos were posted to an undetermined social media page. I don't know why they don't include the website on here. By 20-year-old Charlisa Arnold, and she posted these videos of her destroying her roommate's property. The victims received a text from a friend claiming that Arnold had posted the videos in the early morning hours all the way back on May 10th. The roommates contacted Leesburg police, and an officer met with them at their residence. They showed the videos to the officer, which captured their clothes, bedding, and other possessions in their rooms. They identified Arnold's voice as she narrated the videos. An officer observed that each of the roommates' rooms had damage to the doors, which had been kicked in. He saw that both victims' bedding and clothes had been doused with bleach and then covered with food and condiments. Ms. Arnold was just squirting ketchup and French's mustard all over this stuff, apparently. A dresser and TV were damaged, and an iPhone was also destroyed. One of the victims had received texts from Arnold's phone where she left two messages: locking the door, don't stop, bleep, and also mattresses will be outside and y'all getting a letter in the mail about the damages. The victim's belongings were damaged in excess of $10,000. Arnold was arrested and posted $12,000 bond.
Wonder what they did to her.
Yeah.
That she escalated it to that level.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, life is hard for a lot of people of a lot of ages, but like, you're 20. I'm sure you can overcome whatever strife you're going through. Those are our stories today. I'm going to go with the drug duo.
Yeah, our drug duo is really strong. No, it does not be the Box Bandit.
And they sold each other out immediately. Yeah, the dude put a box on his head. It's just too much.
A phone store wearing a box.
I'm not even past that detail yet. Like, I haven't even processed the part where he took the box off his head. That's our winner today, again, in What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Let's get to a quick break. Michael Swain's up next on 580 Sports Talk.
Things are getting
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks over at fog.net, which is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. You can find him on Twitter at mswain247, and he joins us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. Does so every Tuesday at this time. Michael, how does Puerto Rico in early August sound to you?
It sounds great. If football camp wasn't a thing, I'd be going. But I think a lot of people are going to be really interested in what's going on with the football program in the start of August. So I'll be covering it from here. But I mean, it seems like a pretty good spot to be if you're a KU basketball player.
How important do you think it's going to be to get this international trip, a handful of extra practices and games for a team that is going to be almost entirely newcomers this year?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, if you're going to say you're going to go on an international trip, right? You only get one every 5 years. This is the exact type of team you want to use it on, right? You wouldn't necessarily want to use it on maybe last year's team or even the year before that, where there's a lot of continuity. You know, the guys know each other. This is the perfect time for it, right? They get the 10 practices before they go. They get to practice in between, days off, in between games. It's going to be huge because right now, Bill Self has said it multiple times, right? They've got 10 guys on scholarship right now. That'll end up being probably 11, but you're looking at being 3 guys that have played together before, and then the rest of them are going to be brand new, and that's going to be a challenge. And so this is going to be huge for those guys to just get comfortable with each other. It's not necessarily even like learning the exact sets and everything like that. Bill Self will work on that, but it's just understanding tendencies, what their teammates like to do, where they like the ball to be passed if they're on the perimeter ready to shoot, things like that, if you haven't played together ever before, it's going to take a while to learn. So I think it's vital, for this team and really important that they get to go do this trip.
Wanted to ask you, Michael, still on the basketball front. We'll get to some football here in a few minutes, but I did want to ask you on the basketball front. This was a scoop that I believe you had first. It has since become a little more public and reported on, but this is why, people, you go be VIPs over at 24/7. KU versus Wichita State sounds like it is in the works. Has not. This is something that is coming in December of this year. What do you make of the two Sunflower State schools going head-to-head? And do you feel like this is something that should happen more than, once every 30 years?
Yes, I do think it's something that should happen more than once every 30 years. When I was doing research on it, I didn't really even realize that it had been since the 90s that these two teams had played in the regular season. Obviously, there's the NCAA tournament game. But I think this is something where you look at, who is now at Wichita State, and I think it probably plays a role in it. And now I think you're looking at this game, right? Not official yet. I don't believe anything has been officially signed, right? But it sounds like they're close to an agreement that would make it where they play at T-Mobile Center in late December. You look at the KU basketball calendar, there's really 2 spots where they could fit this game in. It's in between the Champions Classic and now Invitational, or in that kind of weird window where there's usually one non-conference game at times in between Christmas break and the start of conference play. So I think it's one of those that's great for the state, right, to have teams like that can play against each other, right? Obviously, KU and K-State are going to play, but Wichita State too. They're going to have a pretty new team, and it should be a pretty interesting game. And again, I'm all for rivalries. I'm all for the fun of it, and that's exactly what college sports should be, and that's what this game will likely be.
We're chatting with Michael Swain from fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. You can find Michael on Twitter as well, at mswain247. And again, make sure you're a VIP over at 24/7 Sports. You can get scoops like that on the KU schedule earlier than anybody else. Anything else stand out to you, Michael, about this non-conference schedule for KU, which was mostly released in full yesterday?
Yeah, I think overall, just looking at it again, right, it's pretty tough. But I will say this. It seems like there's been a bit of a shift, right? For how long has it been that KU goes and plays teams that are picked to finish first or second in their conference? You look at this, and there are some tough games, right? Kentucky, the Maui Invitational, loaded. They're going to play UConn, and then you got a tough game at Indiana, right? A new-look Indiana squad. We'll see what Missouri looks like. But there are some cupcake games in there, right? Eastern Illinois isn't great. Manhattan College, North Carolina Central, even UMKC, right? And then you wrap up with Yale. Like, there are some games in there where, hey, maybe Bill Self can play a freshman 15 to 20 minutes where maybe he didn't feel like he could last year, considering just how tough that schedule was and how it unfolded. So I think it's one of these schedules now where it'll maybe lend itself to some more bigger blowouts where maybe guys like Jamari McDowell will get some more playing time than maybe they would if it was just game after game, just relentless, playing teams that are going to, be NCAA tournament caliber type of teams in their conference. So I think it's a better schedule for KU and what the NCAA tournament committee showed you last year, right? Strength of schedule doesn't matter really. It's all about kind of some of the advanced metrics. So I think overall it's a good schedule. I think it fits what it seems like the NCAA tournament committee wants to do, and that's kind of what you got to do these days.
Real quick, and I think of this because of one of the teams you mentioned who will be coming to Allen Fieldhouse this year. What's the worst college town you've ever visited covering a game, Michael?
Well, I spent a lot of time in Columbia this spring, and I gotta say I'm not a huge fan of Columbia. My girlfriend will hate me for saying that, but it's the truth. And then maybe Lubbock, Texas.
Okay, because I've been to Charleston, Illinois, where Eastern Illinois University is, and KU fans should be glad that game is in Lawrence. I will say that. It is not exactly a destination city, I can tell you that much. Great teacher school, but not really anything else going on in Charleston. One other thing to get you on the basketball front this week, Michael. Chris Johnson, former, well, I guess, I don't know if he's technically still signed to his NLI. He's going to be let out of it at some point, but freshman, 4-star recruit, top 60-ish player in the country, I believe, in this recruiting class. He asked out of his NLI. He put out a statement yesterday saying, hey, I think it's best for me, yada, yada. Sounds, according to some rumors, and I believe you even retweeted something from Andrew Slater that said, once Arterio Morris committed as a transfer, this was in the works. What's next for Chris Johnson? And do you have any names or any thoughts of the type of player KU might be going after to fill their 11th roster spot?
Yeah. Okay. So a lot to break down there. So I think for starters, right, you look at Arterio Morris coming. And I think to some degree, probably that frustrated Chris Johnson, who probably would have thought, hey, maybe I can come in and start from the get-go. I would probably retort and say, hey, Chris Johnson was also just at Montverde Academy and really, really struggled. Came off the bench, which is perfectly fine, right? Montverde's incredible. They have good players coming off the bench, but he really struggled on the floor. And I think that maybe led to the projection at Kansas maybe being pushed back a little bit, where maybe it's not he comes in and starts, maybe he comes in and can play a bench role, maybe come off the bench at times if he can put it together, and then I think that probably doesn't line up with what he wants or maybe what the outlook even was before we went to Montverde this time last year. So I think overall this is a decision that probably mutual. I think Kansas would have liked to have Chris Johnson on the roster next year because of what the situation I'll hit on next, where it's tough to find someone right now. Granted, you're looking at North Carolina losing a signee today, but it's going to be tough to find guys who are willing to sign up to come to Kansas when you pretty much know who the first 9 are going to be. So who is going to sign up for that, right? I think it's going to be a question of, okay, maybe is it a high school kid who is willing to bide his time for a year, maybe a red shirt, or maybe it's someone like Jalen Coleman-Lands, who has played a lot of college basketball, wants to go play on a winning team, even if that playing time is maybe 5 minutes a game here or there, just depending on foul trouble. Very much kind of like what you see with the Parker Brown edition. So I think those are kind of the characteristics KU will have to look for, just because I don't know if any top 50 or top 100 guy who's available right now is going to sign up to go to Kansas to be the 10th man.
Talking to Michael Swain from Fog.net, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk for Jayhawk Weekly. Go find Michael on Twitter at mswain247, and he joins us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Did want to get to a little football before we let you go, Michael. This is a huge month for KU, and you've been all over this over at Fog.net. Do you know how many exactly official visits KU is scheduled to have? I know not everyone will make it to campus for one reason or another, but right now, do you know how many guys are actually interested in making the trip to Lawrence?
Yeah, so right now, I think it's over 30. And I think if you think back to this time last year, right, I think you should look at the quality of prospect that Kansas was bringing on campus this time last year compared to now. It's worlds different, right? I think every single player outside of one that's coming to campus has double-digit offers and multiple Power 5 offers. So just the caliber of recruits going to KU this summer is huge. And there's a lot of guys coming. And it's going to start this weekend. And kind of there's really 3 weekends where KU is going to host kind of double-digit guys. Right now it's supposed to be 12 this weekend. The following weekend will probably be kind of 8, 9, 10. We'll see. And then the final weekend of June 23 to 25, that's kind of the last big visit weekend before the dead period. So I think that's when you'll see Kansas. If they miss on some guys early, that's when you're going to see a pretty big weekend of KU trying to get some more targets on campus. So, I mean, it's going to be a crazy month and a lot of guys coming to Kansas, and there should be a lot of movement too. You know, if the guy commits, maybe KU change their mind on someone else, you know, a lot can happen. So it should be pretty fun to track.
Offensive line-wise, one player who I believe we talked about last week, Caden Massey from Linden, sounds like he might be on the way out in terms of targeting KU as a possible landing spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
How is the rest of the offensive line recruiting shaping up? Because while things look, frankly, in my opinion, great for this coming year, the whole process of building a program is more than just 1 year. You're looking to the future, you're looking for depth, all those things. What does the outlook look like for the offensive line recruiting?
Yeah, I think, you know, KU's at the point now where, right, they took one offensive lineman last year in Calvin Clements, 2 the year before in James Livingston and Joey Baker. But as we reported yesterday, Joey Baker is no longer on the team. He's retiring from football. So you're looking at, over the last 2 recruiting cycles, KU has added two high school offensive linemen, right? And they need to get more. And so I think it'll probably be 3 this year. I think the big name to watch will be Harrison Utley going into this weekend. He's from Oklahoma. He's been down to see him twice. He's been up to campus twice. Like, it's one of these deals where there's just a really good relationship. And so he'll take his official visit, and then kind of the week after they'll bring in another offensive tackle, David Abajian, who KU was the first Power 5 offer for. So I think KU needs to take kind of 2 or 3. I'd lean 3, just because you're at the point now where I think the offensive line is getting older, right? There are a lot of redshirt sophomore, redshirt junior, redshirt seniors, but you need some of those younger guys that have time to work under Matt Gildersleeve, under Scott Fuchs, and really develop. So I think, you know, defensive line and offensive line are really the 2 big positions for KU kind of this summer.
Michael Swain covers Kansas football and basketball better than anybody, and he does so over at fog.net, which is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Head on over there to check out all the best coverage of all things KU, and make sure you're following Michael as well on Twitter at mswain247. Michael, we appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. We'll talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain from fog.net joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. We've got to get to the end of the show. We're off early because of Royals baseball, so let's jump right into the final word.
One more thing. In conclusion, you better wrap it up.
All right, Dan, let's wrap it up.
Anytime a source puts something out there, there's always a reason for it, but I do not believe the source who says he thinks the Royals are going to trade Salvador Perez, because it would be borderline suicidal for John Sherman to do so.
Final word for me today. The biggest news in the sports world today, the PGA Tour and the Live Golf Tour. Now, bedfellows, I don't watch golf anyway. I don't like the sport. But if you are anti-public investment fund, this is probably not good, not just for the game of golf, but sports ownership around the world and in our country in particular. I wouldn't necessarily say what if it comes, but it's probably at this point when it's going to come. Not great for American sports. That does it for 580 Sports Talk. We're back tomorrow for an even shorter show. We're on just 3 to 4:30 coming up tomorrow, but we got a full show for you then. Royals baseball against the Marlins is coming up next with pregame coverage. We'll join you tomorrow at 3. For Dan, I'm Brendan. This is 580 Sports Talk.